Okay, let's do some word problems. From the top of a 48-foot building, a ball is thrown straight up with an initial velocity of 32 feet per second. The equation S of t equals negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 48 gives the height S of the ball t seconds after it is thrown. Find the maximum height reached by the ball and the time it takes for the ball to hit the ground. You must use your graphing calculator for this. Certainly there are other ways to solve this problem, but we are going to use the calculator as I showed you in class. So I can't show you that here, but what you want to do is put this equation in y equals, and then you want to make sure you see the whole graph, which means you may need to adjust the window. So I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, you should pause here if you want to go ahead and try to find your window. I found that a good window was the x min was negative 10, the x max was positive 10, so the standard viewing window for the x's was fine. The y min at negative 10 and the y max at 75. That's a good window that I found that worked well with this particular equation. So once you've found the window, you're going to see the curve and it's going to look something like that. Excuse me. Okay, now remember what we're trying to do is find the maximum height, which means the vertex. That's what you're trying to find. And with your calculator, recall that you can do that by doing second trace maximum. Okay, so go ahead and find the maximum. Pause if you'd like to do that. I found the max to be the point 164. Okay, so it says find the maximum height reached by the ball. Well, here's all the information you need. Now you just need to interpret it. What does the x value mean? Well, it told us that x is really the t, so this is time or seconds. Okay, and the y value, well, the y value was s of t, or the height. So now let's read. Find the maximum height reached by the ball. Is that the time x or is that the y height? Well, of course it's the y. So that would be the maximum height is 64. Well, 64 what? Well, look to your problem for units, feet. Okay, so you've answered that first part. Now, find the time it takes for the ball to hit the ground. Well, if you hit the ground, that means that its height is equal to 0. Okay, so when you hit the ground, your height is 0. So what you're really trying to do is set the equation equal to 0 and solve. And you have lots of ways that you can do that. Okay, we could solve this by completing the square. You could try to solve it by factoring. You could try to solve it a number of ways. You could also use your calculator if you knew how to do that. So when I solve this equation, I get that t equals 3 seconds. Okay, so the possible answers were t equals 3 seconds or t equals negative 1 seconds. Well, negative 1 seconds does not make any sense, so we will reject that as the possible solution. So the time it takes for the ball to hit the ground will be 3 seconds. Okay, so here's the first answer. The maximum height is 64 feet, and the time it took for the ball to hit the ground, we're talking here, is 3 seconds. Okay, let's try another word problem. It's not in standard form either, so you are going to have to put it in the calculator and see if you can find the proper viewing window. Since you adjusted your window, recall that I said use Zoom 6, that's Zoom Standard, to get your calculator back to the standard window, and then you can try some of the other options, either Zoom Out or Zoom Fit. Okay, so go ahead and try to put this in Y1 and see if you can find a good viewing window. You should pause the video now so that you can do that. Okay, a window that I found that would work the x's would go from negative 10 to 50, meaning the x min is negative 10, the x max is 50, and the y's would go from negative 10 to 75. The minimum negative 10, the maximum 75. If you did that, you should be able to see a pretty good window, and it asked us to find the lowest enrollment, so the lowest means minimum. So second trace minimum and then find the min. Okay, so again, pause the video so that you can use your calculator to find the min. Okay, the minimum that I found, and of course I rounded to whole numbers here, was 1045. Okay, so now it's time to interpret and answer the questions. Well, what does the x value stand for? Well, it says that x is years. 0 being x stands for 1975, 1 is 1976, so what would 2 be? Well, 2 would be 1977, etc. So this stands for the year, okay? And what does the y stand for? Well, it says the y stands for the total annual enrollment in millions, okay? So the enrollment. All right, so now let's answer the question. For this period, when was enrollment the lowest? When means what year? So 1975 plus 10 years, because remember 0 started at 75, gives us 1985 as the year that was low enrollment. Okay, enrollment, spell that right. All right, and now it says what was the lowest enrollment? Well, the y value tells you the lowest enrollment, and it was 45. But don't forget, it's in millions, so 45 million students. Okay, so you've answered both questions. Okay, you're going to omit the problems from 10.5 section, so that would be problems 21 through 28. So omit numbers 21 through 28. All right, let's keep going. Find the center and radius, then graph. These are circles. So recall that the equation for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so again, if it's in parentheses here, we need to take the opposite of it. So the center, the x value would be 2, the y value would be 0. The radius would be the square root of 24, which of course you need to simplify. That simplifies to square root of 6. And then of course, in order to graph it, you need to know what's its approximate value, and it's about 4.9. So we're going to start at the point 2, 0. And then you'll move up almost 5, left almost 5, down almost 5, and right almost 5. And then try to draw the circle as best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it certainly shouldn't have any corners. Number 30. The center, the opposite of the x value would be -1. The opposite of the y value would be +3. The radius is the square root of 25, which is 5. So plot the center, -1, 3, and then move up 5, left 5, right 5, down 5, and draw a smooth curve. Okay, last one. Center, 0, 0. Radius, square root of 18, which is going to be 3 square root of 2. And its approximate value is going to be 4.2. 0, 0, and then up 3.2, left, down, right.